being a part of this establishment and just being around Marines in general, it helps to always make you feel like this is the best thing ever. Those days are always good. So I can't really pinpoint one day or one experience that I've had in the Marine Corps that paints it for me. It's just being around Marines. They're the reason why I've been around for 12 years, and while they'll have to drag me out when I hit my 20-year mark, you know?
Welcome to the Military Bottom Line podcast, where we learn from veterans and those currently serving how to make the most out of a military contract. We're here to motivate, inspire, and help you leverage your service to positively impact you professionally, personally, and financially during your military career and beyond. What's going on, Lamont? Thanks for joining me.
Man, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I see all the work that you're doing, and I'm enjoying it, man. It's an honor to be on this podcast with you, brother.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I know this is the second time we tried to connect. You just had a baby, so I want to congratulate you on that. Dude, that's awesome.
Three girls.
Yeah, it's a busy household. Only gonna get busier as the years go on.
Exactly. Well, one of them is already getting ready to hit her teenage years, so
Dang.
that's already about to make the household busy. So
yeah, no doubt. Awesome, man. Well, I want to hear a little bit of your backstory. You know, how you ended up joining the Marine Corps, kind of where you are in your career, and let's hear a little bit about you.
All right. So again, my name is Lamont. I am from the great state of Texas, born and raised. Honestly, I had never left Texas before I joined the military, so it's by the grace of the Marine Corps that I have been able to travel to the places that I have been. But to be frank, I never had any intentions on joining the military, and I talk about that frequently because it wasn't in the cards for me. At least I didn't think it was, right? I'm meeting people that are joining the military, or friends that are joining the military while I'm in high school. I think it's the biggest mistake they could be making. And not only that, my family used to always say that, you don't join the military because you just go off to war and nothing good comes of that, right? And that's all I ever thought of it. And once I graduated, I found myself kind of working odd jobs. I worked a lot of warehouse jobs. I couldn't explain to you how many of those things I worked. And some of them were decent. Some of them were terrible. Yeah. I worked at a Sara Lee bakery. And man, when I explained to you that happens to be one of the worst warehouse jobs I've ever worked in my life, man. But anyways, so as I'm in my 20s, I'm working all these warehouse jobs, and I got news that I was going to become a parent to my daughter that is now getting ready to be a teenager. Nice. And I'm like, oh man, a lot of these warehouse jobs I was working were temporary jobs. So they weren't necessarily something that was going to bring the bacon home and make sure that my family was taken care of. So obviously I did the next best thing. I went to fill out an application at Walmart, right? So
yeah, there you go.
So legitimately, as I'm going to fill out my Walmart application, I'm walking down the street, and I seen a gentleman in the distance just standing outside of his car. And I'm like, man, and to be honest, where I'm from, you see somebody standing outside their car in a corner, they're doing one of two things, right? So as I'm approaching the man, I'm thinking to myself, like, how can I avoid this situation? What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And I go to walk past him, and he goes, hey, brother, is your name? And ask me a name. And I'm like, no, bro, that's not my name. And he goes, I think this kid stood me up. And I'm like, okay, sucks to suck, bro. Like, what is this? Like, just having a conversation with a random person walking down the street? Yeah. And he goes, I'm a recruiter. I was looking for a gentleman that I was supposed to meet up with, but I think he stood me up. Well, funny story, I can't make this stuff up. My brother, not a week prior, was walking down the street, got pulled over by a college recruiter that wanted him to come play basketball. So he ended up going and playing college basketball because this recruiter stopped him. Fast forward to where I am now, I'm thinking to myself, the stars have aligned for me, and the same thing's going to happen to me, right?
You didn't know what kind of recruiter he was.
Didn't know what kind of recruiter he was. So in that moment, I stepped towards him. I'm now intrigued by what it is that he may be offering.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm like, what kind of recruiter are you? And he goes, oh, I'm a Marine Corps recruiter. Man, I was like, absolutely not, brother. Absolutely not. So me and him exchange, words. He explains to me what he could offer me. And in my head, I'm like, bro, absolutely not. I'm on a mission. I'm going to fill out this Walmart application. There's absolutely nothing that you can do that Walmart can't do for me, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I tell you what, man, let's just exchange information. I'll give you a call. If you don't like it, we'll go on about our business. It's funny because I'm a recruiter now, so I know exactly what he's doing at this point.
Yep.
He lets me go. Unfortunately, the city that I was living in at the time didn't allow me to have access to the library in order to fill out my application. So they kicked me out because I didn't live there. I was just living in the city. I wasn't from there. As I'm walking back down the street, my recruiter pulls up alongside me again for the second time. And he goes, hey, brother, this is the second time I've seen you out here walking today. Your head's hung a little bit lower. You think you got a little bit of time to talk now? And that was the murder she wrote. I went, I talked to him. It took the man 30 minutes to tell me all the benefits of being in the military. And to be quite honest, he went to do his whole presentation. And in my head, I'm like, bro, you don't even have to talk anymore. I'm trying to figure out who says no to this opportunity, right? So with everything that he explained to me, the benefits of it, I was sold off the bat, man.
Yeah. 30 minutes in.
30 minutes in. Because if you really look at the life source of what the military can offer you, it's so beneficial and you can take so much from it, even if you only utilize it as a stepping stone, that anybody, I would say anybody that's under the age of 25 that still hasn't figured it out should attempt to utilize the military as a stepping stone. So being 20 years old and seeing this opportunity present itself to me, I was like, I have to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I have to take advantage of it.
Did you take it upon yourself to like look at any other branches, or that conversation was enough for you?
No, I did. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure my recruiter was pissed at me because I was like, well, if it's this good here, I want to go see what else everyone else has to offer then. Yeah. So I did. I went and I talked to other branches, and I won't get into the logistics of the conversations that were had with the other branches, but overall, there were two key things about the Marine Corps that definitely set them apart. When I walked into their office, all of them came and presented themselves in a professional manner. As I was saying things during the conversation me and my recruiter was having, people would pop in with their opinions and what they've experienced. And it felt more like a family environment. It felt more welcoming. Yeah. Every other office that I walked into felt very clinical, like, hey, you're here to enlist. Let me ask you these questions. Are you interested in that? No, then we're good. Go on about the business. Yep. But in the Marine Corps office, they were kind of trying to figure out who I was and what I was looking to gain from their organization. Sure. So that was legit to me. The second thing was the fact that they explained that if I were to join any other branch and decide that I wanted to become a Marine, I'd have to go to boot camp again. Yeah. And I'm like, then what the hell is the point of going anywhere else if, y'all are obviously the creme de la creme. So that kind of sealed the deal for me after I went and talked to everybody else. I was like, this is it. This is where I need to be.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I can definitely speak to that also as, transitioning from the Marine Corps to the Guard now. They didn't make me go to boot camp again, so that's a plus because once you do it once, you don't want to do it again,
Exactly.
Right on.
It's like, and I went through the hardest one. Why? I would hope that I don't have to go to another boot camp.
Exactly. So how long have you been in now?
So I've been in 12 years. I just hit my 12-year mark not too long ago.
Okay. And what's, in a brief moment, what's the past 12 years looked like for you?
Honestly, it has been the most fulfilling and a blur of a time that I've ever had. What I tell people all the time, especially when they're getting ready to enlist, and they think that they're sacrificing 4 years, I try to explain to them, you don't know how fast that time flies.
Yeah.
And when you get to the point in which you are in your life or in your career, like where I'm at 12 years, it feels like a blur.
Yeah.
So overall, I had the opportunity to leave Texas for the first time ever in 20 years. So that was great. My first duty station was in Hawaii.
Not bad.
If I could go back there, I would. So first duty station was in Hawaii. I met a lot of the friends that I currently have in my very first unit. And those are the people that have been staples in my life, people that have seen me through my ups and my downs. And I've watched them grow families, us growing from young men to, family men. It's the craziest thing in the world. So overall, I think that in the past 12 years, man, it's been a very rich experience for me.
Nice. Yeah,
I've been to what's that?
No, I was going to say it's definitely the first 4 years are a blur. And, at 18, 17, 20, 4 years seems like an eternity, but life is shorter than you think. And so are those 4 years.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that I say to these high school students when I'm talking to them is a lot of them are either graduated or on the cusp of graduating.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, you don't remember walking into high school as a freshman thinking to yourself, like, oh my God, like this is overwhelming. I don't know when this is going to end. This is feels like it's going on forever. And then you snap your fingers and you're in your senior year. Yeah. And here you are getting ready to graduate high school, or you've already graduated. How fast did that time fly for you?
Yeah.
And they're like, honestly, pretty fast. I'm like, that's an enlistment in the military. Mm-hmm. Just as quick as that.
Yeah.
Just as quick as that.
No doubt. So what MOS did you end up with?
So I am in communications. Okay. I initially was a field radio operator. Now I am a radio chief. So I'm more in charge of the planning and orchestrating how we want our communication devices set up. Mm-hmm. But initially, I was one of those people. You've seen the episode of Family Guy where Stewie and Brian are on the cups, and Stewie won't respond until Brian says over.
Yeah.
Technically, that's my job.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I forgot about that episode. All right, so I know I've seen a couple pictures. So that gave you a deployment. Was that job everything you thought it'd be? Did you pick that job, or did it pick you?
That job honestly picked me. So for me, once I joined, obviously from my story coming in, I was kind of ready just to go to boot camp as soon as I possibly could. I got the phone call 3 months prior to me my actual ship date. They told me what was available, and I selected what they had. And I was just, hey, we'll let future Lamont deal with whatever comes of this. and I've been doing exactly that. I do enjoy the opportunities that I got as a young Marine to be able to go to Afghan. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that experience isn't as terrifying as you would expect it to be. And I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself in reference to that, But going to Afghan, it was humbling because you don't have everything that you have in America at your disposal, and it makes you more thankful for the things that you have.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. You don't have TVs out there. You don't have cell phones. You're not on social media all the time. Legitimately, you're there with the people that you're deployed with, and you're developing a really strong human relationship with those people, and they become lifelong friends. It also gives you a peek into other people's cultures. Being able to walk down in the markets in Afghanistan and see them hanging their meats outside still, their spices are laid out all over the floor, they're cooking stuff out in the open. Like, those experiences are things that you would never have had an opportunity to dive into if it weren't for this. So that's definitely some of the stuff that you appreciate being in this, being a part of this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to an Afghanistan deployment, but I think, in today's day and age where it's like everything's so digital, it's all about social media. It's all about like just constant being fed like different dopamine hits kind of thing, that the thought of like the simple life where like you don't have phones and it's more about like relationships and like it's just simple, it's like survival and basic, it's like it's so foreign to today's world, but I don't think it's given enough credit for like taking those times in life and having those opportunities to like really get down to like the simplicity of it all. So no, I appreciate that.
Without a doubt. I remember returning from that deployment, man, and getting in my car and thinking to myself, like, this is my car. Like, this is mine. Like, I get to go wherever the hell I want to right now.
Yeah.
And again, it made me appreciate that. Something as simple as that. And it was a little bucket. But it was my bucket. So.
Yep. That's awesome. So what are some, like, other than the deployment and having those experiences, what are some of like the opportunities that have come and presented themselves to you that you did not expect and that you've taken advantage of, and that you think somebody else should take advantage of too?
One of the good opportunities I got to take advantage of was corpus course, and I got voluntold to do that, right? It's not something that I necessarily wanted to do. At least I didn't think I wanted to do it. But once I was there, it was an awesome experience. One, because if you have any fear of public speaking, you won't after that. Yeah. Because you're being put in front of 60 to 70 students. And sometimes you're going to be speaking on subject matters that you don't necessarily fully understand. But as a Marine, we adapt and overcome. So you're going to take that subject matter and you're going to figure it out. So it was one of those things that allowed me to be put in an uncomfortable position in order for me to grow from it. And if anybody has the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. And especially if we're talking about military members, due to the fact that you joining the military, you're already looking for something more. So you're looking to grow. Yeah. And public speaking is one of those things that's in like the top, 5 to 10 things that people are most terrified of. So if you ever get the opportunity to be in front of people and break out of that shell, it's 110% worth it, because the moment that you find confidence in your own voice, you're capable of spreading whatever message that you have. And we all have a message that needs to be spread, every last one of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Public speaking is definitely not my forte either. And, the Marine Corps is going to throw you in positions where you're forced to do things that you don't want to do. And it's only after the fact that you're going to see how much value that actually gave you,
Yes, because I complained about it all the way leading up to it. I was like, absolutely not. And the craziest thing is one of the gentlemen that was teaching that course with me, still current day, one of my best friends. So it works out. And not only did it work out in that fashion, but it ended up being an actual good time. And in the grand scheme of things, to put into perspective how many Marines that I impacted during that time, brother, I still have Marines that come up to me current day. When I was in recruiting school, I had a gentleman sitting right next to me, and he kept looking at me, and I'm like, why is this Marine looking at me? Like, what is this? And then finally he goes, you don't remember me, do you? And I look at him and I'm like, I have no clue who you are. It was one of my class first sergeants that graduated one of my classes. And we had so many courses during that time that you don't remember everybody, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But apparently I had made an impact enough for him to remember me. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know who you are, but he's like, no, I was in your corpus course, and I'm a sergeant now, and I'm getting ready to go on recruiting duty, and he's advancing in his career, and you had your hands on that. So it's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, after working both in the military sector and the civilian sector, you're not going to have the opportunities to positively impact people in the civilian world as quickly as you do in the military. Like you're so quickly thrown into it where like you're actually in charge of somebody when you don't know what the heck you're doing. But like you said, you figure it out, and to be able to have that positive impact on somebody is it's valuable, and it's definitely something to appreciate.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how we figure things out when thrown in the lion's den?
It really is, man. It really is. When I signed up at 17, I never thought, I would be able to like make things up on a whim and actually get things done. But it's definitely something that sticks with you, and you know, you use it forever, and you just figure your life out. So yeah.
So that would for sure be something that I highly recommend, to do something to where you're getting in front of Marines and you're teaching them outside of your MOS.
Yeah. Does that experience of being voluntold for that job make you more willing to volunteer? Like, were you hesitant at that time and now you're not, kind of thing? Or how has that affected your willingness to volunteer?
To be honest, I usually do volunteer for most things, just because coming into the military, I think that that's going to be the thing that sets you apart, because we are 10%, right?
Yeah.
But even within that 10%, there's always going to be people that want to kind of, you know, be in a neutral position. They just want to duck my head, get my job done, and go on about my business. But when I came into the military, I wanted to make sure that I was taking advantage of every opportunity, and I'd be looked at for the good opportunities. So when people would come in and be like, hey, give me 2, I'd be like, reluctantly, I'd be one of the one to raise my hand and be like, I'll do it. I don't know what it is, but I'll do it.
Even if it's a crappy working party.
Exactly. So this one was just one of those things that I think that we ebb and flow as human beings. We have moments where we have really high points and really low points. And I think at the moment in which I was being voluntold to do this, it was kind of one of my low points where I was being lazy. And to be honest, it kind of shook me out of that, because you can't really be lazy when you have to teach Marines to be leaders, right? So it was one of those things that kind of shook me back awake, like, hey, get back in the game, Marine. So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. No doubt. So I know that, like, through consuming your content, just kind of interacting with you, I've definitely seen that you're I almost want to say abnormally optimistic individual within the military, you know? And I think that in today's, you know, military, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of pessimism. And, you know, how do you combat that within your day-to-day grind within the military?
Oh man, I love this question. The reason why I love this question is because being on a platform like Instagram and putting yourself out there in such a positive light, and there being so much negativity being spewed from some members in the military, it comes knocking at my front door, right? And in the form of comments and the form of messages. And to be quite frank, I don't understand it most of the time, because as me and you were discussing before we started recording, it's one of those things that if you really do take a dive into what the military has to offer, it will give you the best parts of it, as long as you're willing to take advantage of it. And for the most part, a lot of people that do have a negative relationship with the military are just not taking advantage of it, and or they got caught up in a bad situation and they allowed that to define their career, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the way that I combat it is just, hey, kill them with kindness, man. Continue to be exactly who I am. I work to become as positive as I am. And am I positive all the time? Absolutely not. I have my dark days. I have moments where I come into work and my coworkers are like, hey, don't mess with Lamont, or don't mess with Hicks. He doesn't look to be in the food. But at the end of the day, I feel that I have been through enough in my life that was negative, that I'd much rather focus on the good things that are happening and to exude that energy more than what is negative. Because to be honest, your life ends up forming into what you focus on the most.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's I try to maintain that mindset, that idea, and just run with it, man. And to be honest, the amount of people that reach out to me, not just from California, but I get people that are from all over the world. And that's one of the benefits of social media is everybody's watching, and you have the ability to impact people all over the world. And when I get messages saying that, you know, something that I said was uplifting or made them get up and go out and, you know, try to capture their dreams, like that to me is fuel for the fire, man. And it just makes me want to keep creating that content, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you feel like that the people you're recruiting now are, I mean, how are they compared to the Marines that you interact with, on a peer-to-peer level, like as far as optimism, as far as mindset goes, and how can they improve as they enter the military?
So what I will say is, people coming into the military are going to be a reflection of their recruiter in the beginning. At some point, they will start to formulate their own personality within the military based off of their personal experiences. Yep. However, we are where the rubber meets the road in reference to how they are going to come into the military and what attitude they're going to have. And what I will say is I do try to keep in contact with as many of my poolees that have turned into Marines as possible in order to feed them positivity. Nice. And ultimately what I get in response is a relatively good response. They contact me back. They do say that in some cases that they're dealing with lackluster leadership. And I just try to explain to them like, hey, look, you got to be the change that you want to see. I know it sounds corny, but it is exactly what it is. You have to keep your head in the game, and eventually you'll be the person making the rules, right? Yeah. And when it's your turn to make the rules, just make sure that you're not doing what someone did to you because you want retribution or revenge, right? Yeah. It just creates a vicious cycle. So ultimately speaking, when I reach out to these guys, there seems to be a positive mindset throughout them as well. At least I hope that's the case. I hope they're not just feeding me BS to make me happy, but sure. All around good vibes.
Awesome. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate your time. I know you're in the middle of work day, so I don't want to take up all your time, but would love to, so my closing questions for you. I think you mentioned that if I understood correctly, Hawaii was your favorite place that the Marine Corps sent you. Not Afghanistan? Come on.
Afghan is a close second.
Fair enough. But as far as, I like to give people a spectrum of the best days versus worst days. And I'd love to hear kind of like your experience for, when you're like, man, the Marine Corps sucks. Why am I here? Versus like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this type thing.
All right. So what I will say is I joke with this about this with my wife all the time, because I don't care who you are, how long you've been in the military. You, from time to time, joke about potentially getting out. Of course. If you're curious, like, it's going to happen. And she looks at me, she's like, you love it too much. That's not happening. And I'm like, you don't know. But what I will tell you is every time I prior to COVID, go to a Marine Corps graduation and I watch them walking on the parade deck with all that pride in their chest, understanding they're getting ready to carry the legacy that has been around for I don't know how many years now.
200 something.
200 something, right? So I look at that, and when I see that, I'm like, this is where I belong. So being a part of this establishment and just being around Marines in general, it helps to always make you feel like this is the best thing ever. Those days are always good. So I can't really pinpoint one day or one experience that I've had in the Marine Corps that paints it for me. It's just being around Marines. They're the reason why I've been around for 12 years, and why they'll have to drag me out when I hit my 20-year mark, Worst experience that I've had in the military is, and I say this reluctantly because it's not everywhere, but there is a chance that a lot of Marines are going to run into it, and that is toxic leadership. It's here. It's not everywhere, but it's present. Sure. And from time to time, you'll run into somebody that doesn't really understand how to be a leader. They've never had any leadership experience. Some of them were maybe picked on or have a complex that they are trying to fix in the form of bringing down a hammer, and it doesn't work. It does not work. And I've experienced some of that myself. But again, the same thing that I told you that I tell my Marines is the exact same thing that I do to handle that. I just look, I'm gonna kill them with kindness and keep it moving. So that would be one of the worst things that I've experienced in the Marine Corps. But to be quite frank, you're gonna experience that anywhere that you work.
It's true. Yeah, it's definitely true. I also, I don't want to lowball you with this question. Because, you know, I know you're on recruiting duty right now, so obviously you would recommend the Marine Corps. But I guess on a more personal level, if you had like a brother or a son, would you encourage them to join the Marine Corps?
100%. My daughter from time to time mentions that she may intend to or plans to join the Marine Corps.
My mistake. I should have included. I should have included brother, son, or daughter. So yeah, my mistake.
You're good. You're good. I would 100% allow her to do so. I really do believe that joining the military is a proper stepping stone. Again, like I said, for anybody under the age of 25, we allow you to enlist all the way up until the age of 28, I believe.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured it out, utilize it. I would recommend it. I would always recommend Marine Corps number one, obviously, because I have a biased opinion, but not just because of the biased opinion. I really do wholeheartedly believe that the foundation that we give as United States Marines is the most solid foundation that you can find of the Marine Corps branches. Now, what you do with that foundation is solely dependent on the individual. We can't create the rest of your life for you, but we can give you a platform to stand on. Yeah. So 110% would recommend joining the military, and above them all, joining the United States Marine Corps.
Right on. Okay. Yeah, I could definitely appreciate what you're saying with the stepping stone. And I think, almost, I don't know. I feel like at 17, 18, 20, you don't think of life as stepping stones. You know, you just kind of think of like, oh, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get a job and that's where I'm going to work the rest of my life. Or I'm going to join the military and I'm either going to die or I'm going to stay in the rest of my life. Like, stepping stone isn't really a concept that you think of at 17. But at the end of the day, every experience, every job you take, every class you go to, every school you go to, life is a stepping stone, you know. Yes. Whatever's next, we'll figure it out after we pass. Yeah. But
I may have to steal that one from you. That's a good one.
I appreciate it.
So true.
Came up with it on the spot. But yeah, no, I think that some stepping stones are obviously a little bit more frightening than others. But you know, thus far in my life, I've seen that the most frightening things are the most worthwhile. So
for sure,
yeah, I'm a big advocate for it too. But awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing your experience. And best of luck to you and your career and your baby girl.
Thank you so much, man. And I really do appreciate your time. And we'll have to link up and have more conversations like this, brother.
Sounds good, man. Hopefully we'll see you in the military in some military capacity at some point.
Without a doubt.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.